Now, to another top story that we are following for you today. It's Vladimir Putin's Q&A, which is now in its fourth hour. And earlier, our correspondent asked the president what the word democracy meant these days, and this was his answer.
There's a problem. We've been speaking about it for a long time, but our American partners have left it behind. The main problem is their archaic form of the U.S. electoral system. 2 rounds, first electing the delegates and then a president. Some of the states have privileges. Why is that so? We should ask the U.S. lawmakers. Maybe it is done intentionally to give the people from certain states advantages, but that's the business of the American people, not ours. The leading party, which is in power till the 20th of January, has forgotten the original meaning of the word democracy, that's clear. They're using administrative tools like calling on the electors to ignore the decision of the people, that's bad. I expect that as soon as all the electoral passions die down, the people of the US, which is a great country, will draw conclusions for the next elections.
Well, let's now cross live to our correspondent, Murad Gazdiev, who's keeping his fingers firmly on the pulse of this Q&A. So, Murad, bring us the highlights. What's been said so far?
Well, America's electoral problems are its own, but what Vladimir Putin takes an issue with is when they try to drag Russia into it by saying that Russia did it. Russia set up Trump's victory and has done what no other country could do before and changed the results of the United States election in favor of Donald Trump with its army of super hackers. Here, Vladimir Putin said, look at the facts. You have Donald Trump winning the presidency, the Democrats losing. That's not the only thing they lost. They also lost the Senate to the Republicans. They lost the House of Representatives, the entire Congress, to the Republicans. They lost even delegates, electoral college delegates who defected from Hillary Clinton, 5 of them. That obviously wasn't Russian hackers, yet the results are there for you to see. He said the problem is systematic. The Democrats, Obama, Hillary Clinton, they can't take responsibility for their losses. They're trying to find other people to blame for their own corruption, internal corruption, the fact that they rigged the primaries, the fact that they've been misleading their voters, the fact that they've been manipulating public opinion. And Vladimir Putin says that, trying to drag Russia into this and blame Russia is pointless.
The great figures from American history who were Democrats would surely roll in their graves. Roosevelt would for sure. He was a great figure for the world and American history who united the nation during the hardest years of the Great Depression of the late 30s and during the Great Patriotic War as well. The current administration is dividing the nation, that's obvious. Calling on the electors not to vote for one or another candidate, in this case for the president-elect, that's a step towards the division of the nation. 2 didn't vote for Trump, but 4 of them didn't vote for Clinton. They're lost here too. They're losing on all fronts and are looking for someone to blame.
The other big topic was nuclear arms. Russia has been upgrading its own arsenal, its own nuclear deterrent. The United States has been doing the same. Trump said during his campaign that he would do that he would modernize and expand the American nuclear arsenal. In fact, earlier today, and I quote, he said, "Let it be an arms race. We will outmatch and outlast them all," referring to the Russian modernization program. Vladimir Putin has said that Russia won't be dragged into an arms race, that it wouldn't spend itself into oblivion like the USSR did, that the spending would be measured. So, we've heard all of this before. We knew it was happening. We know it'll continue to happen. Yet the media has gone into overdrive.
Did Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump just have their first nuclear standoff? Today, Russia's president vowing more nuclear weapons.
Of course, we knew all of this. Trump promised during his campaign he would modernize America's nuclear arsenal. Vladimir Putin has said he will do the same to respond to geopolitical challenges and changes. Here's what he said.
Regarding the US President-elect Donald Trump, there's nothing new. Even during his election campaign, he spoke about the necessity of strengthening America's nuclear capabilities and armed forces. I was a bit surprised by the statements of some of the representatives of the acting administration. For unknown reasons, they started trying to prove that the US armed forces are the most powerful in the world. Nobody ever doubted it. If you listen to me carefully yesterday, I spoke about strengthening our nuclear capacities, and in conclusion, I said that Russia is now stronger than any potential, and pay attention here, aggressor. That's very important.
A little bit of backstory for you. Vladimir Putin recently said that Russia is now stronger than any potential aggressor, anybody that might attack Russia. United States officials obviously put themselves in the role of the aggressor and came out with all these macho statements about the strength of the United States military. They said preeminent. Of course, the United States and Trump, its elections wasn't the only thing on the agenda today. Vladimir Putin has covered all sorts of topics, including the assassination of the Russian ambassador in Ankara, in Turkey. He said that that was an attempt on Russian-Turkish relations. He said there was an element, a dangerous element within Turkey, within its government, military, even the law enforcement, that was trying to divide, prevent the two countries from working together. Here he added, interestingly enough, that in the past he was, he was skeptic that perhaps the downing of the Russian bomber last year was done without the approval of the senior Turkish leadership. Now he says he's not so sure. He also lauded Iran and Turkey for their role in sealing the Aleppo evacuation and getting that deal in place. He said it was the most massive in recent times humanitarian operation that saved thousands of lives. He referred to the situation in Syria, in Aleppo, saying that it was now much calmer. Also, he talked about Grigory Rodzhnikov, the disgraced head of the Moscow anti-doping laboratory, and, well, he was frank and firm.
Where did he work before? In Canada. What did he used to do? While he was in the top job, he was bringing some kind of rubbish here. I can't imagine that nobody at the US or Canadian border noticed he was carrying prohibited substances. Lots of you crossed that border, you know that the controls are very strict. He was constantly bringing this rubbish here. He turned it into a private business, made people use these substances, inventing sanctions against those who rejected, like the swimmers, for instance. Then, when he was caught out, we didn't get the chance to put him into prison. He escaped and started to leak everything, trying to defend himself and guarantee himself a place in the sun. He hoped he would be given conditions for a normal life. For a certain period of time, no doubt, he will. But then he will be abandoned like any other piece of scum. Nobody needs a piece of scum like this.
A piece of scum, huh? Well, Vladimir Putin again talking there at his marathon Q&A session, and I mean marathon. In all, he spent 36 hours, more now, over the years, answering questions on this day every year. The longest session was 4 hours and 50 minutes. We're almost at the 4-hour mark now. Of course, many topics being discussed, many internal affairs such as jobs, the economy, justice, high-profile cases, as well as certain controversial topics such as the fight against corruption. Of course, that was just a highlight of the various topics that struck us. Much more is being said, and it will follow.
Well, certainly, Murat, thanks so much for bringing us this update. As we know, the breadth of these Q&As is quite wide, and the issues that the president discusses and the questions that he has to answer, ranging from lighthearted to the most serious ones. Thanks so much, though, for bringing us it all here. Murat Gazdiv there.